Hey everyone, this is Zachary, and I'd like to thank you for tuning into my channel today. Today I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on prisons and how, or it's more so I'm gonna cover my generalized opinions on how I see our whole country and government and everything like that works, but with a bigger emphasis on prisons, and I have this idea of it like a theory. All right, so we all know that in the U.S. we all have to, as with other countries too, but specifically in the U.S. we work, then we have taxes taken out, and then you have sales tax, and the taxes go to the government so that the government can pay for things like firefighters and police persons and things of that sort. So, and also Social Security, blah blah blah. So we so the government, if you really think about it, is just like management. It's the management of the country because in like a restaurant or like a small business, that would be the job. Like the management's supposed to oversee them. They're supposed to take the money that they're getting from the customers and pay the employees with it, and then pay for overhead and things like that. So basically, the country is doing that with the tax money from us. So we're basically customers for the government. But this is where it's different with the government. With the government, there's no choice in this. You can always choose whether or not you want to be a patron to like a restaurant or a store or something like that. So you have a choice on whether or not you want to pay them money for their goods and services. The government, however, we have to pay money for their goods and services or their services, which is basically managing all of us. And we're all adults, or obviously not all of us. We all have, or some of us have kids and whatnot, but the contributing people, the ones that are paying the taxes, are adults, and we could renounce our citizenship. That's an option on not whether or not you want to pay taxes or not, but then you can't really live in the country if you renounce your citizenship. Um, so once we get a job, we're forced to pay taxes, and these taxes are going blah blah blah, but they're going to pay like the police people and everything like that. So what happens if we don't pay taxes? If we don't pay taxes, we face tax evasion charges, and because we have another thing that's another wing of the government, or a service by the government, the IRS. Everybody knows about the IRS, which is also paid for by tax money. So um, we we have to deal with them, and if we stop paying taxes, or we just like reject or refuse to pay taxes, then we get tax evasion charges. And what happens when we get tax evasion charges? They put out a warrant and all the other stuff, but let's talk about physically and literally. A police a police person will come down to your house, probably knock on your door, and if you don't answer, they'll probably kick it down. But they'll come into your house, and they're armed, you know. So they'll come into your house, they'll bind up your hands, and they'll put you in the back of their car and take you to jail and keep you locked up. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you'll get the option of bailing yourself out, paying it, obviously paying something so that you can get out of jail. So let's take that scenario, and let's think about if the government wasn't doing it. Just take away all the titles. So you're refusing to pay an amount of money for a good or a service that you might not even need. Because, we can live our lives for the most part without the government. If they were just to reject all there's government shutdowns all the time, and it doesn't really affect me unless, it might affect somebody else, but like if you're on disability, blah, that's something else. But if someone came to your house because you refused to pay them something, and regardless of whether you owe it to them or not, and took you, banged on your door, came inside, tied up your hands, put you in the back of their car, took you to a holding facility, and locked you in there until you paid, with the option of paying your way out of it, it would be considered kidnapping and holding for ransom. So basically, if you refuse to pay our government, I mean, our government is nothing. It makes you really think, is our government nothing but the mafia, or like the mob? Because you can consider our taxes as protection, like the mafia used to go around collecting protection from businesses, so that they didn't get robbed, or when they got robbed, they can go to the mob for it. So if we pay taxes, we can go to the cops and get them to, or if we pay taxes, we can go to the cops if there's ever a problem. I mean, regardless of whether we pay taxes or not, but we're paying. But the thing is, why is it any different? And why is it right and all this stuff is kind of just overlooked when it comes to the government? They have their own, like, goons. Like, they have their own henchmen, the police. Because the police will blindly obey any law, regardless of whether it's morally right or wrong. And they seldom, I don't think they, well, I don't know the statistics, but they're not the best at solving crimes. They're not the best at preventing, well, they don't prevent crimes at all, really, unless they're there, but chances are they're not going to be there when you're getting burglarized at 3 o'clock in the morning and there's a guy with a gun in your face. You're not going to get the cops' help right there, but they're going to be there the next day when somebody gets shot dead and they have to solve the crime, which they're probably not going to be able to do it anyways. So we're paying taxes basically for that. Firefighters, I mean, yeah, firefighters are I consider them, they can be heroes and, whatnot. They save a lot of lives, and so do paramedics and stuff like that. But you can put out your own fire, or you can take preventative action to not set your house on fire anyways. And firefighters do more than that, but they respond to car wrecks. But same thing goes with that. You can take preventative actions to not get into a car accident. And I'm one of those people that I don't believe in jinxing that, because if you're a good driver, you will never get into an accident, and I don't care what anybody says about that, unless something goes wrong with the car mechanically, which then again, preventative action. So basically, if you're one of the people like me who doesn't set their house on fire, doesn't get into car accidents, doesn't get, burglarized, or has plans in case that happens, then you're just paying taxes so that the police and firefighters and all those people can get paid. And if you say, hey, what am I getting from this money? What am I getting in return? You're not, and then you stop paying them, and there's no choice. You can't just pay less. You have to pay unless you lie about something, and we all get tax refunds, but you can't pay less, and if you refuse, you get locked up into a prison cell where you don't even have the option to work for the money, and then you have to pay even more money to get out. And how is that? I just don't see how. I mean, it took me kind of like a while to put that all together, but how is this, like, okay? And is they say, I don't believe this for a second, but they say America is one of the best country is like the best country in the world, and I believe that to be bullshit. I don't know which one I would consider that. That's a subjective thing to say, but if that's the case, then our world fucking sucks because we're we're not living. It's still, I get that it's better than dictatorship and like fascism and stuff like that, but it's not at all complete freedom. We're not free, and unless a lot of outdated things change, we'll never be free. We have to. I mean, we're forced to pay taxes, but then again, if you get sick and have to go to the hospital, you don't get that for free. Most of the time. Well, I live in New York, and New York's a blue state, but so there's tax. You can get health care up here, but it doesn't cover everything. And if you're like 40, 50 years old and worked your entire life, you could have put hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes into the system, and you're still, if you need like a heart transplant, you're fucked because you're not going to get that if you don't have health insurance. You don't have money saved up. But anyways, that's off on a tangent. I just wanted to talk to you about my thoughts on that and the country that we live in which we live. So, my name's Zach. Thank you for watching. Like if you like it, and comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye.